What's good, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this one, we finally have the news day. We finally have, I think, most of the confirmations that we need. There is still one final confirmation that we need in order to, get an A+ setup. But so far on this beautiful sunny Wednesday, it is looking like we might finally have the first trade of the week on Bitcoin, at least based on my system. But anyways, what is my system? If you're new here, welcome. My name is Xuan. I've been making these videos for the last year and a half. So far, we're at about 200 trades called, and we're at about a 78% win rate, especially following the system. So yeah, if you're new here, just understand that you're probably in the right place because I tend to be right a little bit more than I'm wrong. But without any further ado, let's dive right into the fact that we're currently doing a giveaway. I'm giving away $25,000 worth of coaching into my flagship programs. If you'd like to apply, feel free to click the link in the description box below or simply head over to X where you'll be able to find the pinned post. So I'm not going to get too deep into this, but just understand that we already have close to 200 applications. This caps out at 500. So if you're interested, make sure you fill in your application soon. I don't want to have to go through a bajillion gazillion applications. So it's also the reason why I'm capping it. But yeah, anyways, let's get into the video. So far, we are still, again, looking at a bearish weekly bias. Remember, today we are going to have news. At what time exactly? Well, let's take a look. We are going to have news later at 9 a.m. as well as 10 a.m. New York. So just one thing to keep in mind when it comes to news events. In fact, I'm going to mention this later, but there is a specific way that you want to navigate days where you have two news events at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. And basically, you want to give one of them a little bit more weight than the other. Just understand that today, chances are we're going to get a pretty volatile move setting up in the markets prior, probably an hour before news. So I'd say starting from 8 a.m. New York all the way till 11 a.m. New York, right? These are going to be the three hotspot timing hours that we're going to want to look at the markets for today, and chances are we're going to get a big move. And the way that I've been explaining this over the last couple of days, which if you remember, there were no trade days. Reason being was that prior to that, we were in a range, and I wanted to see a clear either liquidity sweep, right? Sweep above the highs and then starting to show signs that you were going to go to the downside, or secondly, a clear break below the range low and then holding below the range low, so that at the very least we can go for some sort of a breakout retest kind of play. But yeah, with that said, just a couple of other things to note is the fact that we have finally closed below this level right here means that in the event that we return back into $59,550, this is going to be a bearish order block from the daily chart. So this is going to be pretty strong. Not saying that we are going to 100% come into this for today, but in the event that we do, this is going to be a level, that's just going to be a level that we're going to be interested in the markets. Now let's come into the lower time frames to truly break down if we are even in a situation where we can be looking for longs today. And I think there's going to be one specific confirmation that I still do need to see before I jump in, because as it stands right now, earlier on, I did tell you guys that yes, we do have a range right here. And what usually tends to happen when it comes to ranges. And by the way, shout out to me. I did manage to predict the fact that we were going to see some sort of a downside move for yesterday. And if you guys know anything about how my system works, yesterday, all the times in my system was pointing to the fact that I wanted to look for a long, but I also had my reasons not to believe that we were going to get along. That's one of the reasons why I called yesterday a no trade day and why we wanted to exercise a lot of caution. But now that the range lows have been swept, there's a very key distinction that we need to understand, which is the fact that usually when price sweeps out the range low, it tends to want to go to the range high. It's just kind of how ranges work. When price is in a range, it tends to want to stay in a range, and the way that this works is you go sweep the range low, you go sweep the range high. So just like how prior to this, we had the sweeping of the range high, which by the way, if you guys were watching my videos from last week, I called this as the high of the week. So just to give you an example over here, that was your prior range, right? After you sweep the range high, oh, look at that. You go all the way to the range low. So at the moment, you sweep the range low. As long as the signs are pointing to the fact that we're going to sweep the range high, we're still going to be avoiding any sort of a trade. So what's this signal that I'm actually looking for in order to confirm some sort of a downside move? Well, it's going to be just very simply a candle close beneath 58,550. This is, I think, the first kind of sign that at least points to the fact that, okay, price is actually going to the downside. So far, though, just so you understand, the CISD is a confirmation that order flow is in fact going down. Now, just so you understand this correctly, the moment we have a thesis, right? And that thesis is going to be, so at the moment, we have a thesis. And this thesis is the fact that, now just to explain this correctly, just to really explain this so that you understand it, currently we have a thesis. We have a thesis that this is a bearish order block. This is in bearish order flow on the 1 hourly chart. We have a bearish daily bias. We're going to have news later. And we have clear liquidity targets towards the downside. So overall, that is our idea. Now, just because we have an idea about the markets does not mean that that is already good enough for us to act on the idea, because we still need the market to give us a confirmation that our idea is in fact, because we still need the market to give us some sort of a confirmation that it agrees with our idea before we dive into it. So how does that look like? Okay, price is coming back into a key level. We can understand that, okay, everything is bearish. Now we actually need to see some sort of a confirmation. And that's going to come with a minimum of a candle close beneath 58,500. But ideally, this one right here at 58,350, if we get that, this entire block here is going to be a new bearish order block, and we're going to be able to take advantage of this to go to the downside. That is the one thing that I'm going to be looking for heading into today. Like, yes, the bearish, like the bias is going to be bearish. We have news and everything, but if I don't get my confirmations, there is a very high likelihood that we're just going to start, reversing. If we don't get that confirmation, and in fact, if we get even a reverse confirmation where we get a candle close towards the upside at 59,300, it's very likely that we're just going to find this, turn this into potential support and head towards a range high, which again, my system dictates that I trade with time frame alignment, which means I want to take shorts when the daily chart is pointing towards the downside, the hourly chart is pointing towards the downside, and if the 5-minute chart is also pointing towards the downside. If any one of these is out of whack, like for example, daily chart is down, but hourly chart is up and maybe 5-minute chart is up, guess what? This is going to end up being a no trade day, which I'm also perfectly fine with, because if you've heard of the saying before, like not every day is a trading day, or like not every week is a trading week, it's true. It's just not that easy to apply, because most of us, most of you watching this video are probably, conditioned by society at some point to, expect that, okay, as long as you put in work, or as long as you open up the chart, or as long as you take a trade, that is considered work and you should be rewarded for your work, right? If you work 9 to 5, then you do expect to get some sort of a salary out of it, but that's not how the markets work. That's not how trading works, period. In trading, the only thing that you will get if you try to apply, common sense logic into this market that is fundamentally irrational, is that you're going to lose money. Because the only thing that determines how much money you make from the markets is the quality of the decisions that you're making. So how do we determine decision quality? Well, we take trades that we're supposed to take, right? We take trades that we clearly can see that, hey, these are A+ trades. All right, these are the conditions that need to be present. Once they're present, all right, I get in. But if not, if you don't get that, then guess what? You sit out, because you know that the alternative is very likely going to lose you money. And also another thing to talk about, and this is, not really prompted by anything, but it's just the idea that even if the market were to move, right? Let's say currently we have an understanding that we may potentially be seeing a sweep at the range high, but as long as it doesn't fit your system, just because the price is moving doesn't mean that we have to do anything about it. We can always just watch price move without us. Again, just understand one thing. Anyone can make money from the markets. You can always get lucky and you can get a couple of wins here and there. But it takes a very special skill to actually be consistent with this, to do this for as long as I have, or as long as other traders have been doing, and to be consistent and consistently win more money than they lose. And that's hopefully what you were looking for. At the very least, I know that's what I'm trying to teach you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be spending this much time teaching you just kind of the way to think about the markets, or the way to think about trading. Is again, if I just wanted you to win a trade and, kind of scam you into some course or whatever, I just go full signals bro mode and I'll tell you, oh, just buy here and sell here, bro. Doesn't matter, whatever's today, let's just do it here and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, we have enough of that in the trading industry. I'm not trying to be another one of those guys. Just understand that it's perfectly fine to not trade, because again, it's not about how many days you work. I don't know how many times I might need to repeat this, probably till the end of time, but the sooner you understand this is the more successful you're going to be in this industry. But otherwise, if we do end up getting a kind of close above this level, again, chances are we're going to be looking towards a trade to the upside. And at that point, I'm probably going to be just graduating towards Forex or something, because at the very least, the trade ideas on these guys are pretty clear. Just to give you an example, we have news at GBP 9 a.m. later. We have a very clear daily bias. And in terms of the 1 hourly chart, look at how clear this is setting up, right? You have a bullish, PD array that you're currently into. At the moment, the London has swept out the Asia lows, and you have gotten a CIC towards the upside, which technically means I can now enter a trade from this point here, place my stop here, and literally target 2R. And by the time the Bitcoin trade rolls around, or may not roll around, I've already hit my TP. And this is the beauty of having multiple assets under your belt. It's when you don't have an opportunity on Bitcoin, whenever you do feel that urge to, do something or to take a trade, you can always just scan through your list of other assets, see if there are any other assets that are showing a much higher probability kind of trade ideas, and if there is, guess what, that's the one you trade for today. The problem is that, and this is a problem that I've observed for myself in the past when I would only trade Bitcoin, I would find it extremely difficult, even as someone who's already been doing this for a while, to stay out of the market when I'm supposed to, simply because I do want to do something. I do want to feel productive by taking a trade. Although over time I learned to kind of condition myself to disassociate the idea of productivity from taking a trade or to, put in work when it comes to the charts. Nowadays, my modus operandi is super simple, which is, all right, I have a system. Every day, I'm just going to scan through a few assets, and depending on which asset is most likely to give me a good outcome based on my system, that's the one that I take, and I don't take more than 2 trades a day. And it's as simple as that. If you'd like me to help you install that for you, and if you'd like to work with us one-on-one to install that, feel free to click the first link in the description box below and join bootcamp. Like, out of our last 60 students, 28 of them are funded and full-time trading right now, or at the very least making a full-time living trading. This is something that works. I don't think there are a lot of programs out there that can claim that close to 50% of the students come in actually get results, and yet we do, because we care. And if you'd like to be a part of that, feel free to just click the link in the description box below. But otherwise, I'll tell you later on X if the Bitcoin trade is invalidated when I get into it. So yeah, feel free to follow me there. And otherwise, I'm going to leave you with this one phrase. It's not about the short term, right? We've had a fantastic, and basically the entire month of June, we were doing fantastically. But we also have, like, for example, January and February, which were terrible months for, Bitcoin and our system in general. Does that mean that we need to change anything? No, it's simply, when the conditions are not there, we wait. And when the conditions are there, we be aggressive. You can't control when the market's going to give you opportunities. The only thing you can control is how disciplined you are in executing the system. And the only way you're going to be disciplined in executing the system is if you can fully trust the fact that this is going to make you more money than it loses in the long run. Or put it simply another way, I'm going to do better if I follow the system than if I were to just kind of wing it every single day that I come into the markets. And if we run with this type of modus operandi, that's when it's it. Ironically, that's also when, we feel the least attached to results. And it's also ironically like when the results actually do come. So yeah, like if today ends up being a no trade, like, again, focus on GBP. I don't know when you watch this video, but I'm going to be taking this trade right after recording this video. My phone's over there. And like, outside of that, like, if you're watching this later, like, just continue trading the 5-minute order flow towards the upside if you ever see it. As long as the order flow is bullish, then you're going to be all good. But otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.